How's it going, everyone? This is the Mark of Balance podcast. My name is Mark, and today just decided to be a sneaky, huge week of news from Star Wars, across everything, not just video games with the big Lucasfilm game announcement, but also a bunch of the upcoming series. They gave a lot of insight on what to expect, casting information, rumors, some characters that'll probably be popping up in them, a bunch of stuff that I just wasn't expecting this week, but here we are. So I'm going to start off with the big news. Lucasfilm Games, super cool. LucasArts, I always remember playing a bunch of the Star Wars games as a kid. Seeing that logo come up was always a great feeling and really nostalgic if I heard it today. Obviously, this isn't the same thing, but I kind of see it as the same kind of feeling of getting a return to form with Star Wars games. Because to be honest, I think EA is 1 for 4 with Star Wars games. Jedi Fallen Order, I think, is the only quality Star Wars game that's come out. Both the Battlefront games obviously were tumultuous at launch. The first one had little to no content, and it only featured the original trilogy. I mean, that game was the skeleton of a full game. And Battlefront 2, we all know the microtransactions completely destroyed that. I specifically remember reading articles that said you had to have 60 hours of gameplay to purchase Darth Vader. Like, the game didn't even come with Darth Vader to play with. You had to play 60 hours, and then you could only buy one hero after those 60 hours. I mean, imagine that. A Star Wars game without Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker or, anyone that you'd want to play with in a Star Wars game. Thanks, EA. And yeah, they added a lot of content, but it took almost, I think, 2 or 3 years for that game to feel complete. I played it recently. It's fun. It has a lot of great stuff, but the whole launch it left a sour taste in my mouth. Squadrons, which came out this year, was fun. It was, inventive. It was really difficult, but in a good way. There was a cool learning curve to it. But once again, it was a $40 game that I think was just thrown together to have some new content and a new revenue stream. The campaign for it was nothing special. I can't even tell you what it was. It wasn't very compelling. It was just thrown together. Similar to the Battlefront 2 campaign, it was very vanilla. Characters were cutouts, really. Mission structures were basic. They just weren't very inspired campaigns like Fallen Order was, and I think they just added it because they had to say there was an attached campaign. And then when it came to the multiplayer, the competition and matchmaking was so tough that me and my friends tried to play it, and it was fun, but it was so hard. I remember we all played it for like a week, and we all just had this silent understanding that we were never going to play this game again on multiplayer because of how much we were getting screwed and destroyed in every single match. And screwed and destroyed are nice words for what happened in those matches. And there wasn't many maps. The game modes were very basic. Overall, it was just an underwhelming package for $40. And to be honest, I rather would have just played the Battlefront 2 dogfights than having to buy that $40 game again. Even though I appreciated all the mechanics that they added and how good it looked to be in the cockpit all the time. So really, I've been, and I think everyone has been excited to finally hear that EA is not the only one being able to make Star Wars games. Unfortunately, EA is still going to be involved. They still said that they're going to be making games with Star Wars. I'm thinking it's going to be another Battlefront game and Fallen Order 2. If you haven't played Fallen Order, you should. It's a great campaign. The story is really amazing. And there's definitely a setup for a sequel. And Battlefront 3, because a lot of the voice actors from Battlefront 2, said that they were working on a new Star Wars project, video game project. I'm just going to assume it's Battlefront 3. I don't think all these voice actors would be anything else. So I think that's EA's main focus. I might be wrong, but that's what I would speculate. But you never know with the EA executive board. Those human pieces of garbage. They'll try to find, or they will find a way to take money out of your pocket and monetize everything and put out half-assed games. They were probably the reason that Fallen Order needed to have a sequel. They probably made the call and said, no. We need 2 out of this franchise or more. So, yeah. The other big news coming out of video games is the Ubisoft open world. And here are some of the details about it. The directors from the Division 2 and crew. I played Division 2. It felt like a cardboard cutout of Division 1. Really cool concept of games. They looked great. The ideas in them were great, but the execution wasn't as good as it could have been, which I feel like happens a lot with Ubisoft games, which is why I'm a little hesitant with this. I mean, Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out this year, and I feel like it came and went very fast. I feel like a lot of people have realized that Ubisoft's game design is very repetitive, very vanilla. A lot of fetch quests, And I just hope with this opportunity, they're able to step outside of their comfort zone and do something much different than what they've been doing with Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, all their other open world games. So while I do trust them to create a great open world, and I hope when I say open world, it means open worlds. This is Star Wars. I hope you're able to travel across planets. I am cautiously optimistic with Ubisoft, and I hope Star Wars is able to spur some more creativity with them than their stale Assassin's Creed formula at this point. No offense to the Assassin's Creed fans. If you like it, that's fine. What I hope for out of the game, I think, is what every person ever has ever hoped for in a Star Wars open world. Picking a faction, whether it be Jedi, Mandalorian, Trooper, anything like Old Republic or Knights of the Old Republic, either one of those games where you get to create your own character, you're not bounded into certain things, and just giving the players as much customization as possible, ships, weapons, play styles, combat abilities, all that. And other than that, it shouldn't be that hard. With an open world, I hope they stick to vast player choice. That's the most important. So overall, I'm excited that EA, that terrible, terrible company, doesn't have their hands exclusively on Star Wars, and that other companies can go to work and bring back that golden age of Star Wars games that LucasArts had back in the day. And to wrap up this segment, my wish list for future Star Wars games. 1. A Republic Commando sequel. If you've played the first game, you know that a first-person shooter like that, this day and age, with squad mechanics and the next-gen systems, would be insane. The multiplayer, everything, it's like such a no-brainer, I have no idea how it's not announced yet. 2, which has already been announced, the open world game. 3, a new real-time strategy game. If you've ever played their computer games, Star Wars Empire at War, commanding entire Star Wars armies or fleets, another no-brainer. I mean, the ships are available. There's so much lore and canon to draw from. Bringing that into new consoles like Halo Wars, it'd be great. It'd be really, really great. And other than that, just surprise me. Just do something new. I'm game. And for Jedi Fallen Order 2, please draw from the combat system of Ghost of Tsushima. That combat was butter. It was butter. If they could do that with lightsaber combat, oh my gosh. Also, Star Wars 1313. Hope to see you one day. Moving on to the shows, we had a lot of news coming out of the Ahsoka series. It is confirmed that it's going to be, instead of Rebels sequel series animated, it's just going to be the live action version of what they would have done there. That's what I got from the news breaks. So we'll obviously be seeing Ezra, Sabine, and Thrawn. If you follow me on Instagram, I did a little poll with you guys on who you think should play Thrawn. I got some cool answers. The top ones, obviously Benedict Cumberbatch would be great. He's got that apathetic genius character type down. Henry Cavill was an interesting one. I don't think he'll be able to do it because of The Witcher, but I'd love to see someone like him play against type and do this evil role. I think it would be cool. Someone else mentioned Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. Obviously, that would be sick if he could bring that genius that he brought to Game of Thrones into the Star Wars universe. I think that'd bring a lot to it. Hearing him say, chaos is a ladder, and that is why order is necessary, that'd be something Thrawn would say. My honorable mention pick would be Jon Hamm, actually. He was really good as the bad guy in Baby Driver. He was in an episode of Black Mirror where he was like the antagonist. He was really convincing in that one too. I think he has the chops for it. I think it's something you wouldn't expect from him. And he's got the toned facial muscles, the jawline, the good hair. Alright, that might just be my obsession with Jon Hamm. But anyway, I honestly just think he could kill it. If he would do a Star Wars thing, I think Jon Hamm would be really cool for Thrawn. But I know that's a long shot. I don't even think he's in the conversation. But my pick would be Lars Mikkelsen. He voiced Thrawn in the Rebels series. If you've ever seen the show, you know that when he was on screen, the voice was what carried the scene. He's not this big imposing man, but the voice that Lars brought to him was cold and calculated. It was perfect. And I think bringing that energy into live action would go a long way to introducing fans to Thrawn that haven't either read the books or seen Rebels. And he's not just a voice work guy. I believe he was a wizard in The Witcher, one of the main ones, and he was really good in it. So he also has like the acting ability as well. It's not just the voice work. He could be live action for sure. And then seeing Sabine, whoever they cast, would be great. She's a great character. And obviously Ezra, his story picking up would be really interesting to see in live action. There's been a lot of rumors of someone that's already been teasing that he's going to play him. I forget his name, but he did look like him, or the older version of him, so I think that'd be cool. Some other news about Ahsoka herself, maybe not show. Some reports say that Ahsoka's going to be in some future animated series. I think that'd be cool. Keeping her as a secondary supporting character in those series, I think would be best. And I think that will be the path because she had Clone Wars. She was a supporting character in Rebels, a great one at that. And now she's getting her own live action. I don't want to see her overused, but any opportunity to hear Ashley Eckstein play her again, I'm all for. They also mentioned that Captain Rex would probably be appearing in more series in the future. I think that would make sense. Maybe seeing him in the Bad Batch would be really cool. We know he was at the Battle of Endor in Return of the Jedi, canonically now they added. So we know he made it that far, so seeing him maybe in the Ahsoka series, that'd be really cool and really nice to see them live action together. Next we have Kevin Kiner, the composer from Clone Wars and Rebels, will be returning for Bad Batch. I think his original scores perfectly capture the vibe that John Williams always set with his tracks. And Kevin Kiner has some of the best melodies in Star Wars. I think he rivals John Williams in some of his melodies. Ahsoka's theme, and then anything from Season 4 of Rebels. I think they're all worthy follow-ups to what John Williams did, for sure. He is the Dave Filoni to John Williams. John Williams being George Lucas. I think it's like that master and apprentice relationship. So hearing him able to continue that work with Bad Batch, which I think is going to be a much darker story, really, is going to be great. And especially with what he did with Season 7 and the Siege of Mandalore arc. He absolutely killed the score for that whole arc. So I have nothing but faith that he'll bring that same skill to the Bad Batch in animation again. The last bit of news is all about, this Marvel Star Wars mashup that they're trying to do. I'm not really a big fan of it, but Kevin Feige has obviously been talked to by Disney execs to be involved in Star Wars, and there's been reports that the Loki writer, Loki, the new show with Loki, is supposed to be writing the Star Wars film for Kevin Feige. Obviously, I haven't seen Loki. I don't plan on watching Loki. I really like the Marvel Universe, but I think after Infinity War and Endgame, I don't really see where they can go with it. That would be more impactful than those two movies. So hopefully Loki's good. Hopefully that writer is good. We know Kevin Feige can make a good movie franchise, obviously. But I was never really a big fan of this whole Marvel being involved in the Star Wars thing or vice versa. And all these different Marvel actors wanting to be in Star Wars. No offense to Star Wars actors. They've always been, no names. They've been low-key actors that only a couple people knew about. They're great, but I think the magic of Star Wars was that you didn't know these actors and they fully become these characters, and that's what you remember them for. And then they have the careers after, Harrison Ford, obviously. Or they don't have careers after it, like Hayden Christensen, but he's back, so it's fine. I don't know, something about seeing like Chris Evans, Brie Larson, those big names in Star Wars, it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't like match up for me. I feel like it would take me out of Star Wars universe. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Let me know if you agree with that. I think that is true for most Star Wars fans, but I might be wrong. I like my Star Wars characters typecast and blackballed for the rest of their careers. Is that too much to ask? And that kind of brings me up into the last point, which is Robert Downey Jr., who's reportedly in talks to be in Star Wars in the future. Kind of piggybacking off what I just said. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is amazing. I mean, anything he would touch, he would bring that charisma, and he'd be great in it. But something about seeing him in Star Wars, I feel like it would take me out of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being dramatic. But these are just rumors. I really hope he doesn't get chosen for Thrawn, to be honest. It would be great to see him go from being the hero of one franchise to being the bad guy on a TV show in another huge franchise. That'd be a good move for him. It would be really cool to see that dynamic. But I just don't think it's for him. And maybe I'm being too harsh on my boy RDJ, but I hope it's not Thrawn. If he's in Star Wars, I hope it's a low-key role, maybe a mentor kind of thing. But that's really it. I'm very particular about my Star Wars actors, as you can tell. But, I might be proven wrong. I mean, Felicity Jones was a huge actor. She just won an Oscar, and she played Rogue One, and I thought she was great as Jyn. And it didn't take me out of it. I'm not saying Felicity Jones was, like, the biggest actor in Hollywood. But she was well known in Star Wars terms. Now, I know I'll probably get some people who are going to say, well, Liam Neeson was in Star Wars. Ewan McGregor was in Star Wars. Christopher Lee was in Star Wars. Natalie Portman was in Star Wars. Yes, they all had established careers before Star Wars. But those were the prequels. It was like when Star Wars was small. It just had the originals and the expanded universe. Now I feel like if you bring big actors in when the franchise is as big and vast as it is now, I feel like it just waters it down and it just becomes more like a corporate thing. Like, oh, if we get the biggest actors from here, we can tell better stories. Yeah, it's just my opinion, just where I'm coming from. And yes, John Hamm is a big actor. And my prediction of him being Thrawn completely contradicts what I just said of that whole rant. But it's probably not going to happen. So it's okay for my prediction. And if it does happen, I think he's been low-key over the past couple years, so that's okay. But yeah, that's all I had to say. Thank you guys for reaching out on social media to tell me you guys you wanted this. I'll now be moving my Mandalorian Season 2 recap to next Wednesday. And then I'll also be talking about all the future Star Wars projects next Friday. And all this news today came out after I made that episode about the future Star Wars projects. So any predictions I make in that episode still hold true, and I didn't use the news today to change the episode. It will be exactly the same as when I recorded it. And if any more news comes out, just know I already recorded it, so anything I say in it that is correct, ha. And ha. I'm kidding. I'm not like that. It's fine. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Stay healthy, and may the Force be with you.